everyone out there. On this video, I'm going to cover what's involved in restoring the carbon ceramic brake rotor hats. I've already removed one of the rear rotors, removed the parking brake. It is electronic. There is a trick to removing that though. With the car running and the door open, you push down on the parking brake lever, and while holding that down, you turn the car off. That will leave the parking brake disengaged. And then from there, it's important, got to keep the door open. And then from there, disconnect the harness, remove the caliper. Once you close the door, the car will try to re-engage the parking brake, which it did on the other side, and it will throw a fault code because one is already disconnected. But you only need it disengaged long enough to remove it. And then with the other side, you have a tiny bolt that holds this brake duct, this carbon fiber brake duct, to the caliper. Two bolts here and here. There's two bolts, one here and here. Pull the caliper back just enough to pull the rotor off. Now I have the rotor sitting right here. You can see why I want to do a restoration. There was a very damaging chemical used on the wheels that has faded or melted away the anodizing on the hats. There's two ways to go about this. I could dissect the rotor, send the hats off to be anodized. I've thought about that. I'm going to go with the least expensive approach. I'm going to strip the anodizing off. I have a technique for doing that. And then I'm going to use my industrial buffer. I'm going to polish these things out to a mirror finish. This is what the parking brake looks like. Just electronic. It's also good to see the pads have very little wear. I'm not even sure if these are original pads. I did find evidence that the car has been tracked while I had the rotor off. I found a sliver of rubber, the kind of rubber that you would get onto your car from any kind of track use. I saw it a lot on the Viper. Anytime I had it out, I'd call them black worms. They literally look like little black worms that get stuck in little crevices inside of your car. In the case of the Viper, since I had the wheel vents, I would remove the wheel vents and you'd see the little rubber snakes or worms fly out and go over the car. It was kind of entertaining. From this point, I'm going to, on the backside mark, I'm going to make sure I get this rotor hat indexed properly with the ring. Pull all these mounts out and then start the de-anodizing process. Here's what the rotor looks like disassembled. There's the carbon ceramic ring and the aluminum hat. And you can really see a big contrast between what the original finish was and how it looks now. You can also see streaking from whatever chemical was used to clean the wheels. And keep in mind, this car, to my knowledge, has only been serviced and detailed by a McLaren dealership. I do show in the service history all the times that it went in for service and was cleaned and detailed after the service. So it's a little disheartening to think that McLaren hires detail guys who have absolutely no concern for a car of this caliber. They use the same discretion cleaning this as they would for a Toyota Camry. And this is all the hardware that was removed. It looks like a lot, but it's really not. Each bolt, each mounting location consists of these parts here. I'm going to clean all these up before I reinstall everything. I might take these into work and hit these with a sandblaster to give them a nice consistent finish. I do like the machine look. I am toying with possibly polishing that, but that's going to be a lot of extra work when my primary goal is just to clean this up. I want this looking new. I thought about sandblasting it. We'll have to see how the de-anodizing process goes. I may go that route. One negative point about what I'm going to be doing with this, and it really would be the same if I got them re-anodized, I'm probably going to lose all my little laser etching. It's really not that critical. It's nice to see it there. I probably won't lose that. My main focus is to polish this area here. I'm not too worried about the section that can't be seen with the wheel mounted. Also, I found another sliver of rubber. If you ever do a track day or spend any time on a track, you will see a lot of these after a couple sessions. Even if you don't drive your car hard enough to create this kind of debris, your tires will pick it up and it will get attached to various crevices in the car. In the case of this one, I found it in these little cooling veins. Well, I have one finished and put back together. I did learn a few things while doing this. I learned that the factory finish was not anodizing. I'm sure anyone watching this video with extensive knowledge about Brembo brake rotors probably already knew that. It's some sort of a baked-on finish. And that kind of makes sense to me because of the temperatures these rotors are designed to withstand. You can see here where I used various different stripping materials to try to take the finish off, and it didn't work. Ultimately, I just had to sand it all off. I left the inside untouched because one of the rules I follow with polishing metal is never touch an area you won't ever see. And since this is the inside, it's just going to get dirty. I'm never going to see that. It's not going to bother me. Another thing I learned is that the aluminum Brembo uses for these rotor hats is very hard. It looks to be around a 7,000 grade. The problem with that is it's not really cosmetically pleasing. It's not easy to work with. You don't get a really brilliant shine that you get from a 6,000 grade aluminum. You can see I have some strange clouding here. I did everything I could to get a really brilliant, perfect finish on here. But really, it's not going to matter a whole lot because you're not going to see anything from this point in. That's why I didn't even bother to get these sand marks out. After sanding the rotor hat, I took it to work and I chucked it into a lathe we have there, and then I did the remainder of the prep using various grits of wet sandpaper and ensuring that I had a really nice, smooth, flat surface to work with for the buffer. And the buffer I use, it's a large Balder buffer. It gets rid of a lot of the little imperfections. You can still see some there. It's hard to get rid of those. I could have spent many more hours working on it, but that would have involved using all the way up to a 2,000 grit sandpaper, and it would have taken several hours just in prep time to get it to look smooth and perfect. Since this is a rotor hat, it's going to be tucked behind a wheel and hidden by a lot of the wheel. It's really not worth that kind of effort. I'm gonna go ahead and mount it up and we'll see what it looks like with the wheel back on. And there we have it, the brake rotor is back on. And as you can see with the wheel and the calipers surrounding it, my concerns about the clouding I couldn't remove are really not a problem at all. There's so much going on with the various angles of the rotor hat, here and here, and also the wheel. You can't see some of that clouding. But compared to the way it did look, it's much improved. Hate to say, I do love the way the black hats look, but now my car is custom, along with the gold wheels that are not something you would ever find on one of these. I now have custom polished rotor hats. I'm gonna jump around here to the other side so you can get an idea of what it did look like. It had turned into a faded gray with lots of streaks from some sort of cleaner that was used on it. It's a lot of work. I'm really happy with the end result. Well, that's it for this video. I'm not gonna bore everyone out there with repeating the process 3 more times. I do expect the fronts to be a bit easier because there's less exposed rotor hat. So I won't have to get as extreme. It's smaller in diameter because the ring is bigger. They went with a smaller diameter hat. I won't have to put as much time into those. I do appreciate everyone watching this video, and see you on the next one.